Well, hello, welcome back. This is Dr. Oscar Hernandez, board certified internist and pediatrician. There is nothing wrong with your screen. The screen is black because we're sitting in a dark room. And for many people, these are dark times. But little by little, we're going to be seeing a little more as we go through this video, because our eyes will be opened, our minds will be opened, and we're going to see that what is so dark right now is going to become clearer and clearer, and the light is going to shine. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I'm lighting a candle right now. It's just one candle. But when you have a candle that's shining in a dark place, it's like a lot of light is coming in. And I'm going to light a couple of candles today, and each candle is going to represent a step that we're taking in the right direction, as a people, as physicians, as scientists, as a nation, and as a world that's joining together to fight in the pandemic. Sometimes the simple things are the most effective. Many of us are looking desperately for what to do with this pandemic. And we go back to the beginning. We go back to the basics. We go back to a standard understanding of how this virus spreads. And there is more information, and sometimes it becomes chatter and confusion. And some of this information says that the virus is spreadable through fecal material, that it is spreadable through nasal secretions, which we believe. And so everybody who has a stuffy nose or some runny stools now believes that they have coronavirus. We need to go back to the fundamental symptoms of this disease before we go pulling our hair out. So our first candle represents knowledge. What do we know? Again, let's review about what the major symptoms of this virus are. Shortness of breath, significant fever, and cough, specifically a dry cough. Let us not get all confused about all the chatter about fecal, oral, or nasal secretions, because those things come back to another basic point of education that we've mentioned since the beginning of these videos, which is hand hygiene and proper sanitation. That hasn't changed. The beginnings are very important. There's a lot of people who are not paying attention to these basic recommendations. And so we see our numbers climbing. Well, they're climbing not only because some folks aren't paying attention, but they're also climbing because we're testing more. So whenever you see the number of cases going up, another point of knowledge, you don't necessarily have to panic. What we need to be looking at carefully is the mortality rate, because we don't want people dying from this disease. Most people who get it are going to get a very mild case. How many cases do we have now in the state in which I live? About 1,200 cases, and in the county in which I'm at, we've had 18 deaths. Terrible numbers, tragic numbers, but we don't need to go panicking. We need to go following the basic, fundamental instructions of good hygiene, proper hand washing for 20 seconds, as we've mentioned, disinfection of topical surfaces, and we need to be doing other things to prevent the spread of this virus, like social distancing. 6 feet apart, avoiding groups of more than 10 people, hopefully people that you know and have no symptoms. By the way, a lot of people believe that this virus is omnipresent, omniscient, and all-powerful. It is not. It is a virus. It is not on every wall. It is not on every surface. It is not on everything we touch and every person we see and every particle of air that we breathe. So we need to be conscientious of this, that we need to practice these universal precautions that I have mentioned, and there are others to be followed, but use common sense. Don't go washing down your walls or your floors. There's no need for that. You're just going to be wasting precious disinfecting material. Your hands, touch surfaces, your phones, your keys, all these kinds of things. Let's light up another point of light. That other point of light has to do with testing. We know that we're testing more and more people, and there are new testing capabilities that are coming out that give us reason for hope and for lighting another candle in the darkness. These tests include quick tests that patients can self-administer. tests that we can do in the blood that will give us results in about 15 minutes. Rapid point of contact tests. These are tests that are just, as you say, point of contact. You see a patient, you test them. They can even start testing themselves. But we don't want to abuse this capability or we're going to run out of tests. Who should be tested? People who have symptoms should be tested. And remember, the cardinal symptoms are shortness of breath, fever, and a dry cough. Those are the people that we want to test. Or if you've been in close contact with a person who has tested positive for COVID-19 and now you are developing symptoms. So we're a little bit more liberal with those symptoms because we know that you've had exposure. What is close contact? How do we define close contact? The Washington State Department of Health has a little circular that you can find online, and it defines what close contact is. And it includes contact with an infected person for more than 10 minutes, or exposure to their secretions, or taking care of a person that we know has COVID-19, or living in the household with a person who has COVID-19 and now you are getting symptoms. So there are a number of other things that define what a close contact is. I encourage you to find the citation from the Washington State Department of Health as to what a close contact is. Let's light up another candle. Here's another light in the darkness. And one of these lights in the darkness has to do with our ability to treat this disease. There is treatment. It is not foolproof treatment. It is not 100% treatment, but there is hope for the combination of hydrochloroquine and azithromycin. This was published on March 17th out of a French study in Marseille by one of the world's foremost investigators of coronavirus treatments, a man who's been active in the past when it came to the MERS and the SARS epidemic, Didier Raoult. An excellent physician, an excellent investigator, and though the study that he published on that date was a small study with only 20 people receiving this particular combination of hydrochloroquine and azithromycin, there was a 100% response in those patients. These studies need to be repeated, they need to be reproduced, but they are cause and reason for hope. Here's another light I'm going to light up, another candle I'm going to light up. It's our people. It's our medical staff, the people at the front of this war. These are our heroes. And I'm going to walk you through my office today and show you some of our heroes as they're sitting at their own battle stations. Whether it's an operator answering calls, a front desk staff that's taking in patients, these are folks that are there to work for you. What can you do for us? Follow isolation, social distancing, and proper hygiene precautions. Folks, we're putting our own lives on the line. All we ask of you is that you follow those simple measures that at times may not be so simple and difficult to follow. But this is the time for action. It's not the time for fear. It's not the time for disinformation. It's the time for action. Let's take a little tour of what some of these people are doing right now. So let's come and see some of the people who are points of light. By the way, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're wearing our little N95 masks that you have seen me talk about on previous videos. So this is it. This is the bunker. This is where the magic happens. Let's take a walk. Mari, what do you do to help people who might have coronavirus? What do you do?
Cover myself.
Cover herself. Mari is a point of light. Lena comes and takes our patients in. She's a line of first attack. She's a point of light. This is Ramon, one of our nurse practitioners. He's doing what he's doing. He's a point of light. This is Glendy. She answers the calls. She's a point of light. This is the door for one of our physicians. He's not here. The reason he's not here, he's in self-isolation because he's been exposed, or we believe he's been exposed. So we're doing what we can, and he's doing his part, and he is a point of light, Dr. Jorge Gil, by staying at home and self-isolating, which is what we ask so many people to do if they have symptoms, whether we have tested them or not. Preferably we have. But even there's a point of light, the closed door. There's no one. This room represents self-isolation. This is Alex. He takes care of our medical records. He's the point of light. This is Julio. He does our checkout. He's the point of light. So everybody that you see here is a point of light. They're working for you. All we ask is that you follow the simple hygiene, isolation, and distancing instructions that you have already heard so many times. So now we're here in the office. The door is closed. I have no patience. I'm going to take my mask off, put a little sanitizer on my hands, and make sure that we're nice and safe. I want to share with you things that help me get through the day in these times of a little bit of chaos and a lot of information overload. If you're a person of faith, then this will help encourage your faith. If you're not a person of faith, these are still great inspirational words that you may use to find refuge and strength in. And these are words that were written a long time ago, but it's amazing how plagues and infestations and things of that nature have been around forever. And so King David writes in the Psalms, a great monarch and a leader of his people, he writes in the Psalms in a time of his own need some great inspirational words that I want to share with you. And this comes out of Psalm 91. I'll read it directly. So it says, "He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High will abide under the shadow of the Almighty." If you're a person of faith, you have a protector. Coronavirus, as I said before, is not omniscient, omnipresent, and all-knowing. It's not all-powerful. That's the role of God. "I will say to the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Surely He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence," as in the noisome coronavirus, as in the noisy press that is constantly telling us things that we probably already know. Take refuge, knowing that there is peace from above. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will trust, and His truth will be your shield and your buckler. People don't use bucklers anymore, but the buckler is a big buckle that holds the belt that has the sheath and the sword in it. It's a pretty impressive piece, depending on the type of armament you're wearing. "You will not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor for the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor the destruction that wastes you at noonday." Whether you're in the darkness or in the light, there is refuge, there is hope, and there is inspiration in God's Word. If you're not a person of faith, I encourage you to touch base with that voice on the inside that tells you that there is something bigger than yourself, that there is something bigger than coronavirus. If you are a person of faith, then let's put on that buckler and let's put on that armament that God gives us spiritually so that we can get through this. We will get through this. This will end. This will finish, and will go back to being normal folks who do normal things. Right now, it's battle time. So, join me next time when we keep talking about how we're going to get through this and conquer this virus. Remember, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, well, I hope we do a better job, and leave your comments underneath so that if you don't like it, we can address the things that you want me to address. This is all about science and medicine and progress. It's also about inspiration and hope and the future. So that's why I talk about both things. Some people will like it, some people will not, but that's okay. I have to tell you what's on my mind and what's in my heart, because there's a lot of dry videos around there. I want to give you some hope and inspiration. That's all we have for today. Stay safe. We're going to check in with you again next week.